Why seeking power is really a fight for security begins with a principle as old as humanity itself. All human actions, desires, and ambitions are ultimately rooted in the need to survive, and survival has always depended on securing resources, safety, and stability in environments that were unpredictable, hostile, and often deadly. Thousands of generations ago, our ancestors lived under constant threats, ranging from predators that could appear at any moment, rival clans seeking to seize food or territory, disease that could decimate entire villages, to natural disasters that could destroy crops, homes, and settlements overnight. In such perilous conditions, individuals who discovered ways to reduce uncertainty, exert influence over resources, and form alliances to create protective coalitions had a far higher chance of survival than those who could not. This drive to control circumstances and protect oneself and one's community became deeply embedded in the human psyche over millennia, shaping the way we perceive threats, opportunities, and the very meaning of safety. These survival instincts did not disappear as humanity transitioned from hunting and gathering to agriculture, cities, and modern civilization. They simply transformed, adapting to new forms of threat and new arenas of competition. Today's threats are rarely about life or death in the literal sense, yet uncertainty, scarcity, and lack of control still trigger deep-seated fear responses in the brain, activating the same ancient mechanisms that once protected humans from predators, starvation, and hostile tribes. Power in this context becomes a psychological tool, a means of creating predictability, controlling outcomes, and securing resources and social influence that can buffer against perceived threats. Seeking power is therefore rarely about ego or greed alone. It is often a subconscious strategy to feel safe in a world that is inherently uncertain. The initial pursuit of power can be rational and constructive. A tribal chief consolidates authority to prevent attacks. A merchant accumulates wealth to ensure food and shelter, or a corporate executive seeks influence to stabilize operations and protect employees. Yet humans are wired to have shifting thresholds of security, and the more power one acquires, the more expansive the baseline of what feels sufficient becomes. What once seemed like enough for survival or comfort now feels inadequate, and each increment of influence only temporarily quiets the fear of loss, leaving the individual anxious again. The internal conflict emerges as the mind continuously raises the bar, equating security not only with absolute resources or influence, but also with comparative advantage relative to others. A person begins to measure their safety against neighbors, colleagues, competitors, and rivals, creating an endless cycle of comparison that drives ambition, competitiveness, and sometimes ruthless behavior. In history, this pattern can be seen repeatedly. Emperors, kings, and political leaders amassed armies, fortresses, and territories not simply out of greed, but to protect their communities, ensure succession, and guarantee that threats to their rule were minimized. The same dynamic plays out in modern corporations, where executives hoard authority, micromanage, or aggressively guard intellectual property, not solely for profit, but as a buffer against perceived instability or potential loss of influence. As power accumulates, the paradox of human ambition becomes apparent. The very behaviors intended to secure safety, domination, control, and influence create new insecurities. Distrust emerges, relationships strain, ethical compromises arise, and the psychological weight of maintaining power intensifies. The climax of this struggle occurs when the pursuit of power, initially a tool for protection, begins to threaten the security it was designed to guarantee. Individuals consumed by the compulsion to control may lose sight of their original goals, allowing fear to dictate actions, and creating a cycle where the more power they obtain, the more fear drives them to acquire yet more. This cycle is a subtle but powerful manifestation of human greed, not greed for power itself, but greed born from the need to feel safe, to secure life, and to minimize vulnerability. On a societal level, this explains why human history is filled with power struggles, wars, and hierarchies. The competition for security manifests as competition for influence, status, and control. Yet understanding this dynamic also reveals the path to resolution. If the root of power seeking is insecurity, then the solution lies not in accumulating more power, but in addressing the perception of insecurity at its source. True security is internal, cultivated through self-awareness, emotional resilience, and the ability to tolerate uncertainty. It is built on the recognition that life will always contain risks, and that personal value and safety are not defined solely by dominance over others or by relative advantage. Individuals who internalize this understanding begin to shift their focus from acquiring power to cultivating stability within themselves. They learn to manage fear instead of being driven by it, to invest in relationships and community rather than competition, and to pursue meaningful goals instead of comparative gain. Practical strategies for achieving this form of security include developing emotional intelligence to navigate challenges calmly, building strong support networks that provide collective stability, practicing mindfulness and gratitude to reduce anxiety, and aligning actions with personal values rather than external validation or ego. Historical examples illustrate this principle. Leaders who focused on building stable institutions, fostering trust, and cultivating collaboration often achieved lasting influence and societal stability, whereas those driven purely by fear of loss or desire for control frequently sowed instability and conflict. In modern life, executives, politicians, and even everyday individuals who internalize these lessons can break free from cycles of fear-driven ambition. Influence can be applied constructively to guide, protect, and inspire rather than to dominate or exploit. Wealth and resources can be used to create resilience and shared security rather than simply to outcompete others. Relationships and community bonds provide stability that no hierarchy or accumulation of power alone can guarantee. At the societal level, understanding that the drive for power is rooted in the need for security has profound implications. Institutions that reward empathy, cooperation, and constructive leadership replace those that glorify dominance, reducing fear-driven competition and promoting collective resilience. Communities structured around trust, mutual support, and shared purpose reduce the anxiety that fuels the relentless pursuit of control. In this sense, power transforms from a weapon driven by fear into a tool applied consciously to serve collective well-being. The human narrative of ambition therefore shifts. Power seeking is no longer a symptom of greed or ego, but a reflection of an ancient survival instinct that can be channeled wisely. When individuals cultivate internal security, develop resilience, and align influence with ethical purpose, the compulsive thirst for power diminishes. The story of humanity's drive for power is recast not as one of endless struggle and conflict, but as a journey towards self-understanding, conscious choice, and the harmonious integration of survival instincts with modern life. Influence becomes a means of creating value rather than a shield against fear, leadership a platform for service rather than domination, and ambition a path toward purposeful achievement rather than unrelenting anxiety. Ultimately, humans seek power because historically it offered security, and understanding this truth allows us to reframe ambition, transform societies, and cultivate genuine, lasting security, both within ourselves and in the communities we inhabit, turning an ancient struggle for survival into a conscious, balanced, and meaningful journey through life, where fear-driven compulsion gives way to clarity, resilience, and deliberate ethical action, and where the thirst for power is no longer a destructive cycle, but a tool for positive growth, cooperation, and enduring human fulfillment.